And we now proceed to Congresswoman Sara Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. I know we've had many conversations in classified settings where we've talked about the military operations on the ground. As someone who's Jewish with family living in Israel, this is deeply personal to me, and my heart breaks for every Palestinian child who is being killed in this conflict through no fault of their own. I know one of the things that President Biden has emphasized was the lessons that we learned in our own experience after September 11th. I was in middle school, and we're still dealing with the consequences that we, both this body and the United States in general, made after that attack. One of the things that I think was a key lesson learned was that minimizing civilian harm is incredibly important in the fight against violent extremism. So I was wondering if you could share what some of the specific lessons learned in our own fight against terrorism that are useful in this situation now and that we've conveyed to the Israeli government.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for those questions. Secretary Austin speaks about lessons learned from the past 2 decades of the United States military experience. A key lesson is that there's a continuous and consistent need to attend to the needs of the civilian population in order for military gains to be sustainable.
I would just add that, the first trip that Secretary Blinken and I and the rest of his team made to Israel fell 4 or 5 days after the massacre. And I can only say that both the leadership, the country more broadly, but the leadership was in a state of shock and deep trauma, and that trauma is still there. I think part of what we have seen our job to be, both on the civilian side and the military side, is to be a strong shoulder to lean on and help nation in trauma and shock and its leadership move through that as they made decisions about the military campaign and so forth. So there's been a good, robust soldier-to-soldier discussion about this, and of course, our own leadership is engaged in that. But the President spoke from his heart when he said that, and he spoke as a friend that learned from us, because we did make some very grave decisions, grave mistakes rather, early on and through that continuous fight against, the terrorist scourge that come to our shores.
Well, thank you. And I know the Israelis themselves have openly said that many of the provisions we've seen around food and water and humanitarian assistance have been directly because of the advocacy of the U.S. government. So I thank you for all of your tireless work on that. And I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that he is not willing to do a humanitarian pause, and I appreciate all of the work you all have been doing to continue encouraging him to make sure that we are able to get that assistance. I want to move to our U.S. forces in the region. Obviously, we've repositioned significant military resources to deter this from expanding, and especially from Hezbollah and Iran from further intervening. Can you commit to us that you will come to Congress before conducting combat operations or other hostilities against a belligerent in this unfolding conflict, especially any hostilities that could escalate?
If Congresswoman, you are referencing anything other than the self-defense strikes that President Biden has ordered under his Article 2 authority, yes, we would consult with Congress.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And lastly, I want to ask, there's been public reporting about the U.S. approving the sale of military-style weapons for the Israeli National Police. The Israeli National Police obviously are under the purview of Minister Ben-Gvir, one of the far-right extremists. We've also seen concerns that some of those weapons, in addition to being used by the National Police themselves in ways that are probably not necessarily aligned with what we would want policing to be, also have been given directly to settlers who are engaging in settler violence. What assurances can you give us about whether or not those weapons are actually being approved, and whether or not they will be used for things that I think we all would agree we don't approve of?
Thank you. Congressman, thank you for that. In all of these cases, we have been provided assurances, and we have rigorous oversight or end-use monitoring for all of this. There were weapons that will be provided to what are called Community Immediate Response Teams, CERT, that report directly to regional police or border patrol commanders. They will, and they supervise the use of those and and to the personnel who are volunteers for these organizations, and it is only within Green Line Israel, but we have an elaborate set of assurances on that.